Hello, friends. Welcome back to Spike Week. I'm Erik Beimfohr, and on today's show, we are doing our best Jim Mora impersonation, and we are not caring about the fantasy playoffs. We're caring about the whole season, week 1, week 6, week 10, every single week, because we are going to be drafting some eliminator teams on Underdog before that contest closes. It's somewhere around 92% as of this morning. And we're going to take some of those similar tactics and how does it apply to non-playoff formats in the marathon and over on our good friends at Drafters. So no playoffs today here at Spike Week. Yes, GM says, Mac, it's a great day to draft a winner. I agree. It's a beautiful day. The Eliminator is almost full, and that seemed to be, I don't know if people are just interested because it was almost full yesterday or because they've always been super interested in the Eliminator. It's always hard to judge those kinds of things. In the best ball world, we have so many different contests available to us now. I love the general concept of the Eliminator, being able to sweat the whole season, build, being able to have things that you can check in on, honestly, like in week 6 that you feel more excited about than your 9th place BBM teams and all that kind of stuff. I wish it were the bigger groups each week like it was last year as opposed to the head-to-head, but we'll see, if my opinion changes on all of that. I do find the Eliminator stuff to be fascinating, and we'll do a couple drafts here today. Maybe I'll make some of my slow draft picks as well today. I have 10 more drafts to do. Now, I have a lot of in-progress slows for the old Eliminator, so I have not finished 140 teams, not even close, as a matter of fact, but as you can see here super quickly, on the clock for a bunch of eliminators and a whole lot of other stuff, some still to fill, some slows still to fill. So we'll be grinding out eliminator slows for the next couple of weeks. But I think generally speaking, just before we fully dive into some drafts, that the kind of conversation that has taken over kind of the space in terms of really what I would classify the non-playoff format total, right? So total points, the marathon and drafters style contest. This also applies to fast draft contests, which are, slightly unique permutation of all of this, but total points. So, week 17 conversation, which I love the traditional best ball format, the playoff format. There's just like nothing like making it to week 17. Even if you finish poorly, the sweat going into the football games that week is incredible. You just can't reenact that sweat, in week 6 or whatever. There just is nothing that replicates it. But these other formats are very fun. Eliminator I found to be particular amount of fun because of that, like the strategic element, I think, is something that we can take advantage of how our opponents are playing it. We'll talk a lot about that while we draft today. I think that there's plenty of ways to score early season points. There's plenty of ways to construct your teams where you don't have to, pull up all of the running backs that you don't necessarily want, guys that you're not in love with in regular drafts, and now they're going around earlier. There's ways to use some of the values that present themselves in the Eliminator in cumulative scoring sort of against your opponents, that it's working against them. Now we have to draft them appropriately, right? Some injured players, falling super, like Trey McBride falls in these Eliminator drafts, which is funny because George Kittle doesn't, but Trey McBride does. There's a weird little quirk that the elite quarterbacks and a couple running backs have leapfrogged Trey McBride. So he's become, I believe, my highest owned player in the Eliminator because of all that. But there's just like some little quirks that happen in the Eliminator that I think at the end of the day, a good pick is a good pick, and focusing too much on players like dead zone style running backs or being totally opposed to like a hero running back build or even a zero running back build when we have later values available to us that are going to score points early in the season. And particularly in week 1, you only have to beat 6 teams. You have to finish in the top half. And so, if Tyrone Tracy or, one of the Jaguars running backs score a touchdown in week 1, if Zach Charbonnet scores a touchdown, if dare I say the Voldemort backfield, the Cowboys backfield, if someone scores a touchdown in week 1, you've just like recreated what a lot of people are chasing up the boards into the 3rd and 4th round because they're so worried about that initial, basically week 1. We also get some discounts sometimes on some of these earlier bye week players because rightfully so, people are trying to push some production to the back end. But if you are willing to take some, week 5, week 6, week 7 buys, and everybody else is focused on, the week 12 and 14 bye week teams. I do love the San Francisco 49ers. Just full transparency. Week 14, San Francisco 49ers buy. It rocks. They're awesome. But you can, again, kind of use some things against your opponents here in these eliminator drafts where everyone drafts the exact same way. It doesn't mean that the general premise for drafting that way is wrong, but it does mean that if 99 out of 100 teams are drafted in a certain way, being the one in a head-to-head like gauntlet style tournament is awesome because you're going to show up and you kind of like you're supercharged at, let's say, quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. You're maybe a little bit weaker at running back or weaker at somewhere, right? You're weaker at RB2, maybe, or something like that, but you're making up points at the other spots, and it's just a head-to-head every single week. So I being able to use how our opponents are building so much Chuba Hubbard and Ken Walker and Kyron Williams, right? Like taking Kyron Williams over Trey McBride is crazy, even in this format to me. And I'm not trying to slander Kyron Williams, but drafting projectable volume backs extremely high, even in this format, actually can turn into the worst picks on the board. That's the thing I think that goes overlooked. They can be better, right? The assumption is that they're better picks in the eliminator and cumulative scoring like drafters in the marathon, right? Because they're going to score early season points. And while that's true, the whole season does still matter. And the most of the money is still at the end in the eliminator. And in drafters, it's you still need points in weeks 14, 15, 16, right? It's not that week 1 is more important. It's just that it's more important than it is in, say, Best Ball Mania. It means that it's about the same level of importance as week 17, but it doesn't mean it's more important. And I think the field treats week 1 as though it's more important than week 17. And so they're the same. And the big thing about the early season is it's the time when there are no buys. You don't have injured players. You can easily cover for, and like, if you have a gap in your team, you can cover for it at the first, right? Rashee Rice is suspended or Jordan Addison is suspended. You can cover for it at the beginning of the season because nobody's on bye. Everybody's healthy. You have the rest of your team, the rest of your 17 players or 19 players can cover for that individual. And yet people are very unwilling to draft those guys. And they're very willing to draft the guys who they don't even necessarily love, but they project to score well at the beginning part of the season, even though that's the easiest time to find production. Good luck finding really good RB2 production without some injury luck later in the season, in weeks 14 and 15, and they count just as much. And in the eliminator, they actually are more important. If you make it to week 14, congratulations, you made some money. But if you get wiped out there because all you did was backload all of your buys, well, you're going to have injuries just like everyone does. You're going to have whiffs just like everyone does. And now after your team's on bye, you basically guaranteed you're not going to win. And I don't want to guarantee I don't want to win. I want to find these ways that I can, snake my way through this. And if it has to be early buys, if it has to be some roster construction that some other people are maybe not so interested in, I'm totally going to sign up for that. I also think, lastly, this time of year is when we can spot some of these guys that can make up for the lack of early season production, at a certain position, whether it be wide receiver, it be tight end, it be, Mark Andrews gets a boost to start the season, right? Travis Kelce gets a boost. Probably TJ Hawkinson gets a boost to start the season. We'll see what's up with the Jaden Reeds of the world and the Darnell Moonies of the world. Do Kyle Pitts and Tucker Kraft get boosts to start the season? Does Drake London just have a 40% target share to start the season? There's a lot of ways that we can manufacture early season production, based on the knowledge that we have now from training camp that we didn't have early in the summer, and all those different things we want to put into play in our drafts. Is it injury luck? Yeah, I think you answered the question. Is it injury luck if the injury rate is constant for a position? The luck is who it happens to. So yeah, there is luck. I mean, that I think that's the luck part. I'm unsure of injury rate, of which injury rate we're talking about, but yeah, there's definitely going to be injuries for sure. Brandon, I've been huge on Devon Achane all offseason, but camp reports are very worrisome with how bad it sounds they've been and seems fragile. How do you feel about Achane now based off of reports? That's a great question. I have been here's how I'll give you the full life cycle of how I've played the Dolphins stuff. I was pretty intrigued at the very start of the summer, May, June. Tyreek Hill especially was like a mid to late third round pick, really on all formats, all sites and everything. And I was buying that big time. And a little bit of Achane and just being open to a Dolphins bounce back, because the market has had previously priced to your point, like you were big on Achane because A, we didn't have some of this later information, but B, the market had priced them in such a way that was like, dude, they probably don't even have to go back to 2 years ago. Dolphins, they can just be like a little better than last year, and we're going to get a really nice profit on these guys. Well, then they trade Jonnu Smith, and the market goes crazy for all of their guys. Tyreek moves up into the second round. Waddle moves up into a range of wide receivers that I do think is more fitting of him, but nonetheless more expensive. And Achane moves in like sometimes to the back half of the first round, more stuck at like pick 13-ish or so. And I have gotten exceptionally squeamish about them as well. I've sort of coined them like a house of cards, an unserious like football organization. Tyreek Hill is a mess. Mike McDaniel is the favorite to be the first head coach fired this year, which as the more the summer goes on, the more likely that feels. Yes, you can, like, in terms of betting markets, he is the favorite to be the first head coach fired, not Brian Daboll, not these other coaches that people are already writing their obituaries as well. It is Mike McDaniel. Had they have not fixed the offensive line, the talent has regressed. Jonnu Smith, I love Malik Washington probably more than anyone outside of Malik and his family and maybe Mike McDaniel, but I don't think like he's the answer to solve all of their offensive problems. Darren Waller is not the answer, in my opinion. And the problem with Tua as your quarterback is not that he's not good and not that he doesn't do certain things very well. He's exceptionally accurate, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league, but obviously the arm strength and the mobility are just not there. So it puts you in a small box of the things that you can do offensively. And I think Mike McDaniel already willingly puts himself into a small box of things that he's willing to do offensively. And that's bad for 195-pound running back who may lose goal line work this year. And we're drafting him, at the 1-2 turn. So I definitely don't have zero Achane, but I'm similar to you that I'm worried, and I think the entire Miami Dolphins situation is quite fragile. Mr. is ripping a limbs all morning. Elite thumbnail reference. Nick says it's one of my favorite sports moments ever. I mentioned in the Spike Week Discord, which of course there's a link in the description. You can join. Like the live streams channel and some other channels are all free. Of course, you can get support and try to get drafts filled, and some of that stuff is all free in the Spike Week Discord. But of course, it's $5 a month if you would like to join and get access to all the premium channels. Or if you're a subscriber, you get the Draft Hacker and Draft IQ and rankings and all that different kind of stuff. The Discord comes for free with a premium subscription in there. I posted after I shared the link to this stream. When we're done here, go to YouTube and type in DJ Steve Porter press hop. And this was back in my college days. Literally, it came out. He made this mashup of all of Allen Iverson, talking about practice, and Jim Mora playoffs, and Dennis Green. We let him off the hook. You want to crown them and crown their asses, right? And Mike Gundy, he has Mike Gundy in there. I'm a man. I'm 40. with T.O. That's my quarterback. I'm trying to Joe Namath or whatever. Like he's got it's incredible. Check that out on YouTube when we're done. This is an Eliminator ass show, says Charles. Jake says if I'm weak anywhere, I want it to be at tight end. See, I draft an absolute ton of elite tight end in the Eliminator because of what it allows me to do, and because of the slight discount on the price of the elite tight ends. I love the elite tight ends in Eliminator. When I think about rolling into a head-to-head and having the tight ends that can just absolutely bury my opponents on any individual week, and their floor is like still above the average scoring at the position, they feel like an absolute cheat code to me. I can find RB2 production over the course of the entire draft, or wide receiver 3 or something like that. I can find a lot of that production, but I can't replicate the elite tight ends ceiling and floor combo. And so I'm really heavy into the elite tight ends, though I understand the idea of the lowest scoring position. If I'm going to be weak somewhere, be weak at the lowest scoring position. Let's see. GM Angel. Full PPR, who are you taking between CD and Jahmyr Gibbs? I have CD ranked 2 and Gibbs ranked 3. So I would take CD Lamb, though I think it's exceptionally close. Those are 2 of my favorite, if not my 2 favorite first round picks. And you'll probably see here in a minute. Let's dive in. Let's get in a draft. We can catch up with you guys in the chat. All right, what did that say? Hold on. What did that say? 91.7. All right, we can get 10. We can get 10 fast in today with 91.7. I don't think I can stomach adding any more slows to the mix. I got the 102. I can answer Brandon's question specifically in this Eliminator draft. Let's move over here. Nick likes the Bears week 5 bye. The one thing that's interesting about the early bye teams is that people don't love them so much, which I totally understand the idea of pushing, right? Like I said, I think the 49ers are extra fun in Eliminator because of the week 14 bye. They're already awesome picks, I think, generally speaking, given how camp has played out. 49ers meaning specifically Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, and then to a lesser extent Christian McCaffrey for me. I think all good Eliminator picks. But the week 5, also the Falcons are a big one here in week 5, is like, again, that's the time when I'm going to have the rest of my full roster much more likely to be available to me in week 5. And I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs. The Jahmyr Gibbs issue, which is not an issue, but week 8, there's too many good players on bye in week 8. And Jahmyr Gibbs is on bye in week 8. So you do have to navigate that a little bit. But I love the Packers, the Bears, the Falcons, those teams with some early buys. I love those guys because think about the power of your team. Everybody thinks about, let's try to kick this can down the road as far as possible. But what about if we knock out some of our core player buys in early week 5, week 6, and now we're supercharged? Are we a little bit more likely to get knocked out? Sure, of course. But would you rather, I would like to roll that dice and see if I can get through in week 5 and week 6 and week 7, the Ravens on bye in week 7. If I can get through without, Lamar in week 7, or without Drake London plus Michael Penix in week 5, and navigate my way through that, that one head-to-head, right? Or the several head-to-heads with whatever Falcon stacks I have left. Now I'm like at it, right? I was a 55-45 dog or 60-40 dog in week 5. And now I'm a 60-40 favorite the rest of the way against everybody else who's backloading all their buys. Now I get to week 14, I'm supercharged. And now I'm like in a much more advantageous position. So it's just all about when you want to take on that risk and when your opponents are taking on that risk. And I think it's a pretty fun one to kind of zig while they're zagging a little bit with some of the bye week stuff. Mr. Nick is at the 101. Of course, took Jamar Chase. Overflow is all red badges. I love it. We got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Nick likes Bears Niners as a combo, which also hilariously play in week 17. But I do think that they fit Yeah, don't sweat the badges. That the badges and all this, like the DraftKings badges, the Underdog badges, it just means you've drafted a bunch of teams. It doesn't really mean you're good. Like, look at me. I have the cool red badge and the whatever, the bandana on my doggy's head, but it doesn't mean that I'm good. Charles says, elite hero, all positions. Got it. Honest to God, the old rainbow start is probably my favorite. Like Gibbs, elite tight end, elite quarterback, and then you can still get a good wide receiver in the 4th round. I know but I think building with an early running back, but building a hero running back team, as opposed to the overwhelming majority of our opponents are building like robust teams or superheroes slash dual running back, right? Taking 2 because they want to lock in those running backs. They don't feel good if that RB2 is like, am I really going to wait till, and like you can wait for Isaiah Pacheco if you want to, or Tyrone Tracy, or someone like these guys are Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones. Like these guys are gonna score points in week 1. You don't. I take things a little crazy. I like to try out some like extreme zero running back and those. I really like to try that stuff out in Eliminator. Like think about getting some injury luck or getting some. I do draft, right, the Damian Pierces of the world. Maybe I draft some Jaguars backs on that team, etc. Keaton, of course, I love Keaton, but then mix in some of the like handcuff guys, see if you don't get some good injury luck. And then like, man, you just instantly got this supercharged team that nobody's drafting zero running back in the Eliminator. And I understand why, but again, you only have to win a head-to-head every single week. I'm gonna take McBride. I'm going to take McBride here because I would like to take either Lamar or Allen. And obviously, Mr. Nick, our friend in the chat at the turn here, is not going to double tap both. And if he does, so be it, right? If he double taps both quarterbacks, that's fine. We can move on. Let's see. I have a lot. I do not have Josh Allen with these 2 guys in the Eliminator yet. If you see the draft hacker on my screen, I got 9%. So I've taken a bunch of Gibbs McBride teams, but only 9% of those have Allen. 27% of those have Lamar. So I'm going to go ahead and do Allen on this team for just a slightly different version than I've typically drafted with Lamar. But this is sort of my counter. You don't have to be like all elite wide receiver in the Eliminator as a direct pivot to kind of how people are building with early running backs. I really like the elite onesies. It gives us so much flexibility to smooth over, right? If you have bye week issues. If I take an elite quarterback and an elite tight end specifically, I am only going to draft 2 quarterbacks and I'm only going to draft 2 tight ends. So the majority of our opponents are not only drafting 4 onesie positions, 4 quarterback plus tight ends. So that inherently gives me extra, maybe 2 roster spots to use at running back and wide receiver. Why is that powerful? Of course, it's going to help me win the flex, which I want to win the flex. That's my number 1 priority goal for all things best ball for me personally. And then B, with bye week issues, with some of those things that we're talking about, I can smooth over some of that. You can take a couple, right? If you only take 5 running backs, you start to feel really uncomfortable if 2 of them have the same bye, because now you only have 3. What happens when you get an injury? And you only have 3 guys, and if 2 of them are later round picks, like, same thing at wide receiver. Oh, you only took 7 and you took 2 guys with the same bye. And then the 3 of the 5 remaining are like your 14th, 16th, and 18th round picks. Those guys it's tough to go to war with those guys in a head-to-head, right? I have a $50K salary, on DraftKings, and you're using a $30K salary in that head-to-head week. So having more bullets in the chamber to kind of gloss over some of the bumpiness of the ride that is the Eliminator, I think is super, super helpful. And the best way to do that is with the elite onesies. Obviously, they provide the floor ceiling combo that's awesome for head-to-head formats, but they also provide the ability to give you more roster spots for the other positions. And like I said, I do love getting like Gibbs as a hero. And then, so like, I'm going to still try to win the wide receiver position. Obviously, I have Gibbs as an anchor, and then I have the elite onesies. Like if my whatever happens kind of at my running back 2 type spot. Shout out John for the super chat. We much appreciate you. He says, GM, can you rank high stakes redraft PPR? Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Woody Marks, Sean Tucker, Kyle Monangai. So PPR definitely is the one format that makes this a little closer. But here's what I'm gonna. There's a clear top 2 for me, and I think some people might disagree with this, but Sean Tucker number 1, probably in a tier of his own. Kyle Monangai number 2. If it were like half PPR, JCM is for sure number 3 to me, and then Woody. But I'm gonna say Woody and then JCM. I just don't think Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is ever really going to be a factor in the passing game. It doesn't mean that he can't be something useful, but I think all of these guys are going to like get to play and potentially be useful. And so give me the guys who are more likely to catch some passes. I really don't do Sutton like ever. I do George Pickens all the time. So let's do a little DJ Moore, set that potential Bears stuff up. See, one thing I do like, though, is you could take another thing you can do is you notice Travion's getting pulled up. RJ Harvey is not getting pulled up despite the running back left, like a little 55, but not anything super duper crazy. Let's see. Okay, so let's mix it up at wide receiver a little bit. Let's take Calvin Ridley. So take DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley. Get away from, obviously, as you guys can see, George Pickens, Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, my favorite picks at this spot. I'm drafting 150 teams, and I'm going to have several of this Allen, Gibbs, McBride start. So I don't want them to all be the exact same. Though, if you do, I think that's okay, right? You're playing in this format, you could draft the exact identical 18 players several times, and it's fine because you're running into head-to-heads every single week. You're not competing against yourself, so you're never going to run into yourself. I guess unless you draft the Stone Cold Nuts and you're all the teams remaining at the end, which is possible. How sick would that be, by the way, to draft the same team a bunch of times and it's the Stone Cold Nuts and you just have like all the final 20 teams or whatever. Maybe that's the goal. That's a flex right there. That would be incredible. Anyway, you can draft the same team, right? So I'm sort of contradicting myself, but I just want other options in my team. That's how I want to build my portfolio. But if you said, I'm going to draft literally the exact same team several different times, you can, because the head-to-head variance, one team will get knocked out in week 4. You could draft the same 18 players. Might get knocked out in week 4. Another one might win in week 4 just because the variance is going to be nuts. Like you're going to face teams that score 200 and you're going to face teams that score 80 in the same week. It's the variance is nuts in this format. So just another thing to keep in mind. Let's see. Talk to me about stacking in the Eliminator. The Eliminator is all formats of fantasy football. All formats of fantasy football, but specifically all formats of best ball. Stacking is good. Like there's obviously having this. The only problem with stacking is about bye weeks. Having correlated players on your team over the course of the entire season, in which you can benefit from that correlation every single week of the entire season. That's good. Placing bets on individual offenses is good in this game, both in an individual week, right? Their upside and their touchdowns and everything are correlated, especially in Underdog. In half PPR, touchdowns rule all. So having correlated options for your touchdowns is really good. Having team level bets is really good. It's one of the best ways to win a head-to-head over the course of the entire season. It's placing chips on an offense. They outperform. So now you have a much more powerful team. You had to get fewer things right? It's not ideal to try to get an 18-leg parlay. I would love to get a 14-leg parlay. It's still not easy. It's still goddamn impossible, but it's a lot easier than an 18-leg parlay. Wowzers. I'm gonna do. Let's do Debo. Do Debo here. See what. Put Mr. Nick under the gun with these wide receivers. Damn it. I was kind of hoping it would be Ibuka, but I'm cool. I'm cool with Rome. I'm cool with sort of Jawan. I'm a little bit. Aren't you worried about Jawan? And the answer is yes. Let's do Matthew Golden. Also a week 5 bye, like DJ Moore, but gives me a different team, right? Gives me an out to Jordan Love as a quarterback instead of only Caleb Williams. I didn't really want to be backed in to Caleb Williams if at all possible. I have built a DJ Moore Rome double stack that was a little bit similar to this. In the Eliminator, I do like it, but just having outs to the Packers is also nice. But stacking good. Stacking equals good. Now, do you necessarily want to like onslaught an offense? Onslaught meaning like mega stack, right? Quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, tight end. Take them all on the same team? Probably not in the Eliminator. But it's not because team level correlation is bad in the Eliminator. It's still good. It's because of the bye week issue. When you only have 18 players on your roster, taking a bunch of buys on the same week is a problem. Now, it also restricts what you can do around that team. You know, if I take 5 players on week 8 bye, and they're all on the same team, I'm limiting myself from other week 8 players, which may restrict some things that I do from a roster construction perspective because I've eliminated a bunch of teams that are, no pun intended. I've eliminated a bunch of teams that are in the player pool that I just really can't draft anymore. But stacking good. Show up to a head-to-head every single week, and if Baker throws 2 touchdowns to Mike Evans, you move on. That seems good. Let's see. Jake says, I just started Gibbs, Lamar, McBride in the overflow. Imagine our finals. And it's like we draft all 17 of the same players, and it's just Lamar versus Allen in week 17. That would be a hilarious coin flip. GM, aren't you worried about Jawan's wallet injury? Yes, exactly. The old ouch, my calf hurts because I won a contract extension. They're saying, like, this is the problem with this time of year. This is actually why the Eliminator is fascinating, and all the cumulative scoring-ish tournaments are fascinating this time of year because the teams do not have to tell us the truth about anything. And so, like, what do we believe? I'm not trying to put a friggin' tinfoil hat on, but Jawan wants a new contract, supposedly requested a trade, then supposedly that wasn't true. Then he shows back up at practice, and then he's out from practice, right? James Cook is warming up for games and then not playing, and he's not practicing, and he's like kind of practicing, and then he did sign his extension, and it's so all over the place. They're just so there's no rule by the NFL that they have to tell us yet before the week 1 injuries report. They don't have to tell us anything. So, like, is Jawan really hurt? I have no idea. They're saying that he is, but do I believe it? Not really. I don't know what to believe. And so that makes some of those guys tricky picks. I actually like Addison a decent chunk here because, again, can I survive 3 games? Right? None of my other wide receivers are going to be on a bye. Can I survive 3 games with Addison, and then I get a guy that, although I wonder if Nick will take it. No, let's just take Addison. And then I get a guy in Addison who comes back and is more of a 6th round wide receiver that I'm getting in at the end of the 8th, all because he's going to miss 3 games, which I understand. However, I can cover for that, right? Speaking of players that get a boost in this format, let's just go ahead and really beat the shit out of people at tight end. Mark Andrews, also week 7 is nice. Not something I have on my team currently. Obviously, Josh Allen, but week 7 is quite nice. Keon would have been nice. That was the target. Ideally, Keon Coleman to stack with Josh Allen, but we may be staring down the barrel at Josh Palmer later in this draft. Mr. Nick says Coleman has been moving up my boards because of how thin that Buffalo wide receiver room is. Yeah, I've got a quite a bit of Keon Coleman, all formats, but I also really like him in this particular format. Jonathan says a bunch of people watching. Not everybody has hit the like button. It would be much appreciated while we're waiting to come back around to the 10th round pick here. If you would just take a quick moment to hit that thumbs up button, that would be phenomenal. In the overflow, Charles says, Burrow fell to me at 66, elite-ish, hero, all positions check. Henry, London, Marv, Ridley, Kittle, looks good to me. First, Abuka share in the Elim. Abuka, the interesting thing about that wide receiver range is that's funny. The interesting thing about that wide receiver range is it's so counterintuitive now with all the injuries and stuff. Normally, understandably so, the perception is, all right, the young player is the back-weighted, right? We always say this, your back-weighted production. That's the rookies and the young players, right? They come on strong at the end of the season, even though they kind of come on strong like at the start of the season nowadays. The good rookie, it's anyway. And the veteran, right? The dusty, the tried and true veterans. I'm going to get my early season production from this veteran guy. Well, now all the vets are hurt, right? Jawan, Jaden Reed. I know Jaden Reed's a vet. He's not old, but obviously Godwin, Khalil Shakir got hurt. All the like reliable veteran early season production guys from that range got banged up or are in, suspended, right? There's a bunch of guys dealing with early season production concerns, and it's all the veterans. And so now, hilariously, the Emeka Buka, Matthew Golden, young receiver pocket in that window those are the guys that are the early season bets. Emeka Buka is I think that just means when you're a first round pick wide receiver and we thought you were a back weighted production guy, and now you're also a week 1 type bet, I think that means you're just a really good pick in fantasy football, period. All formats. Doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that that's what that means. We loved him for week 17, and now we also love him for week 1. I think that's just the Bucks love him. Everything about him. I think that dude's just probably a pretty good pick. I'll do Tank. I think Tank skyrocketed up, and I had a good clip at Tank, and now I don't have so much because of the skyrocket up. But I think the fact that he all right, now we'll do Jordan Love. I could do McCarthy. Let's do Love. I think that one's pretty close. McCarthy versus Love. I've done Jordan Love a little bit more, but not so much that it's stopping me from drafting him. But I think you can make an argument for McCarthy over Love if I'm very close rankings wise. Imagine if a dislike button existed still for best ball streamers. It does. Don't hit that one. I mean, if that's your honest feedback, go for it. I'm an open book. Not everybody's going to like you. It is what it is. What was with all the tank emojis the other day, says House in Motion. Yeah, I don't remember. It's going to be I've got my running notes for those of you that are new here on Friday. So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, I do a recap of training camp, all the most notable news, right? Injuries, coach quotes, what's going on across the league and training camp, the things that we need to know the most every Friday morning. And then, of course, we draft some teams. And, of course, also, if you're new, I give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event at the end of the Friday show. All you have to do to be entered to win that is drop a comment on one of our videos this week. You'll get entered. I'll put you on a wheel, put your name on a wheel. We spin it, give away 3 free tickets. But every Friday I walk through all that stuff, and I do have the tank emoji, but I haven't looked into exactly what it was. ETN was cramping, I think. ETN left practice, and I'm pretty sure it was just cramps, if I recall reading. But I think that's what Tank was referencing, though I'm not entirely sure. Jaguar stuff, just weird. Just weird. Apparently, a beat writer was saying Tank was shutting up a stupid beat writer, which good. If you're going to be a beat writer, don't be a dickhead. Same thing for the players, but don't be a dickhead. Yeah, this is on the list for tomorrow as well. Jacob Cowing is back at practice. Of course, Jordan Watkins is out. Jawan is out. Brandon Ayuk is maybe going to be back for week 6. Maybe week 6, maybe week 10, maybe who knows, per Kyle Shanahan. And Jacob Cowing is back at practice. So shout out to our boy. Your Jacob Cowing shares from the earlier in the summer. Not dead yet. Not so fast, my friend. LeeCorso.gif. Look at it. Oh. That one stings. Let's do Trey Benson. For the audio listeners, Josh Palmer just went right before me in the 12th round. Nothing like getting mad about missing out on Josh Palmer, baby. And there's nothing like it. Son of a bitch. Now I'm gonna lose out. Yeah, I knew it. And I don't know if I should have done Braylon or Benson first. Unclear. I will do Tootin though. Let's go Travis Etienne get traded. Come on, Jaguars, trade Travis Etienne for this team. Tootin in the 13th. Jahmyr Gibbs, Trey McBride, Josh Allen, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, Matthew Golden, Jordan Addison, Mark Andrews, Tank Bigsby, Jordan Love, Trey Benson, Bashal Tootin. I like this team. Obviously, double tapping some Jaguars running backs is oh shit. This is why you pay attention to bye weeks. So week 8's gonna suck. See, come to Spike Week for the Eliminator strategy, where Erik talks all about these bye weeks and then drafts too many of the same bye week. We'll see if we can't navigate this week 8 stuff. I am gonna end up taking 7 running backs on this team now, and I have some ideas for how we can navigate that. Shout out Updog. Tank got smoked, but why has he got to be? We don't got to call out that he's white. I was a white safety, and he was mad. We don't got to bring race into this. Us white boys can play safety. There's a great video on YouTube. Shout out to me, toot my own horn. There's a great YouTube on me rocking some dude. They ran a go. We played cover 2. My damn corner let the wide receiver get outside him in cover 2. They tried to throw a hole shot down the sideline. Not today, sir. Not today. One of the only highlight clips for me on the still on the internet almost 20 years ago. God, I can't believe it's been that long. Extra white safety, says Goods. That's hilarious. Is this Caleb fall justifiable? And should I stop scooping up the value or keeping or Charles is the one keeping Caleb's new ADP? Specifically in Eliminator, aren't you worried about Caleb Johnson? Yes, I'm extremely worried about Caleb Johnson. Do I think you can still draft him? For sure. I don't think he's not going to play to start the season, but I think his every day that he's not perfect in all of these little subtleties, of playing the NFL running back position, pass protection, catching the ball, all that kind of stuff. The areas in which he needs to grow are just a little bit concerning. It's concerning for any rookie, but I'm way more like in terms of the aren't you worried scale. I'm way more worried about a running back who plays with Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith. Aaron Rodgers just historically, A, he's a dickhead, but B, Rico Dowdle is an awesome fit on this team. So let's do that one. Reminder, it's go get your guys season. Don't forget that doesn't change for the Eliminator. It's still go get your guys season, which means hopefully Mr. Nick obliges for our get your guys here in a second. I actually don't know if they're available. I should probably go look. Yeah, okay, we're good. The perfect bye week cover. Keaton Mitchell, week 8, book it. We're gonna get the long Keaton touchdown in week 8. Let's see who they play in week 8. Schedule. Keaton is coming to the rescue in my week 8 head-to-head against the Bears. We got a little Keaton, DJ Moore dueling week 8 battle to save this Eliminator team. We took Rico Dowdle, who I think is a quite good pick all around in all of best ball, but also in the Eliminator, going to play playing the passing down role so far with the Panthers, and then obviously has pretty awesome contingent value if something were to happen to Chuba Hubbard. Good morning, Warehouse. Did 3 main events last night. Can feel the running backs moving up the board. Shout out to you. 3 main events. That's a fun evening. Let's see. Schefter just said Rice's hearing is September 30th, and he will likely play the first 4 games, and he might miss. So now he might, as Rick said, he might miss. Wow. Yeah, we're going to have to diagnose this one for sure. Going to have to think about the old Rashee Rice situation. That's crazy. Or could be suspended next year, yeah. I'm not going to pretend to have the answers at this exact moment. Wow. We'll dive into that tomorrow. I don't want to get too deep. It's got instant reaction, and we'll look. I'll try to gather some more information over the next 24 hours, but we will certainly be talking about Rashee Rice tomorrow. I'm so sick of talking about Rashee Rice, by the way. There's like only one thing I would rather talk. There's 2 things. If we're ranking, right, he's probably the bronze medalist in terms of things that the royal we that I'm so sick of talking about. The Cowboys backfield and 3 quarterbacks versus 2 quarterbacks on best ball teams. I could not possibly be less interested in talking about both of those things for how often we've talked about him all summer. And Rashee but he finished 3rd. He got the bronze in that. Let's stop talking about it. Is it more likely to be mid-season versus end of season? All of a sudden now we want to pair, as Nolan says, this is the real gal brain stuff. This is what you're here for. Now Rashee Rice plus Jordan Addison is a good pairing. That's fucking insane. Now I'm also going to go get Sean Tucker. The final piece of my save me in week 8 group. I'm gonna guess that Horton is gone. Yeah. Alec Pierce is. I don't hate Alec Pierce. Let's do Alec Pierce. I have not done enough of him, honestly, in the Eliminator. I know he's banged up right now, but so 1 more pick to go, and then we'll hop in another Eliminator, and then hop in an Elim, and then do a drafters. Yeah, Rice might now be a terrible pick in BBM, says Tim. It's very much possible. Joe says, is there a chance the hearing gets remanded and he plays this season? Yeah, I would think so. I don't want to answer any of the like legal questions because I'm certainly not a lawyer. I am an expert in bird law, however. I'm definitely not a lawyer, and I don't want to like misspeak. So I'm going to look into it when we get done and stuff. But I mean, my gut take from everybody is if the hearing is on September 30th, like that doesn't mean it's not. We don't. I don't know, right? I don't know what is all possible here. I would assume, based on the information that I've heard here just live, is that yeah, it's possible that he doesn't even get suspended this year. It's possible that he gets suspended for the fantasy playoffs. I don't know. I would assume both those are in play. I would assume that it seems pretty unlikely now that he starts the season suspended. I'm not sure. That would be my gut takeaway. There we go. Nick says you called my team an eliminator ass team. Did I improve? Chase, Kyron, T, Sutton, Burrow, Abuka. Hell yeah, this team rocks. Bo Nix, Tyrone Tracy, Keon Coleman, Tucker Kraft, Javante, Braylon, Jerome Ford, Chig, Dante Thornton. Yeah, that team rocks. Is that? Yeah. I love that team. It's a great team. It was an eliminator ass team that you drafted the other day. This is a very good eliminator team, but not quite what people would classify as a Peter Overzet's eliminator ass team. Beast Burf says, I would assume no one has any idea what to do. I don't know how anyone can speak confidently about it right now, at least, about what's going to happen. Have your wings been clipped? When you need a bird lawyer, call Eric. Yeah. I'm in the midst of it. So my good friend and co-founder of, the CTO of Spike Week, he just goes by Hacker. I had never watched Always Sunny before. And I've watched it probably 100 times. It's one of my favorite shows. And I can't believe it's still going on. It's so funny. It's so inappropriate, but so funny. And he'd never watched it before. So I'm like, well, I'm going to start another rewatch. So I got a lot of stuff from Sunny stuck in my head at the moment. Let's see. You know who's an eliminator ass pick is Kevontae Turpin. Actually, let me see my white. I should have looked better at this. Yeah, let's do Booty. Let's do Kayshon Booty, week 14. I don't have any week 14 receivers, so that works. It's not that big of a deal. If I would have had Turpin with another, I have a week 10 bye with Calvin Ridley. Not that big of a deal, but given my week 8 issues, I kind of would like that to be right. I have week 8's going to be rough to try to advance out of here. So I want to have as much firepower as possible, like kind of all the rest of the weeks, and just like let week 8 be my roll of the dice. But we take Kayshon Booty, who is another player I am also trying to get a little bit more exposure to, someone I wasn't excited about, but now just a little bit more excited. Not anything crazy, but in the mix in the 18th round for me. Dad says I rewatched The Office, Parks and Rec, and The Simpsons so many times. It's good to have something new to watch. Because Hoyt says I just started Always Sunny after hearing you talk about it. It's just a hilarious show. You'll probably, if you take offense to things, right? The whole thing is they make fun of all the stuff that's really, really offensive. There's some episodes that were they cross the line and you can't even watch them. It's Always Sunny's on Hulu, and they're so offensive that you can't. They removed them. There are multiple of them, so you'd have to go get the actual DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever to watch. But it's great. So I've got a bunch of stuff stuck in my head. Ivan says I love to rewatch Sunday, but my dog sings to. That's hilarious. Ivan's dog sings along to the intro song. Phenomenal. Tim says sounds like Goblin's going to start on the PUP. I have not heard that. It's possible that that's been discussed this morning. I haven't checked on anything yet this morning, but let's Let's hop into another Eliminator draft here. 9 left, baby. 9 to go. So I haven't watched I've seen some Workaholics, but I haven't like watched Workaholics from start to finish. This is The Gang Gets Invincible is one of the single best episodes of Sunny by far. Oh my gosh. It still cracks me up to this. Green Man, so good. Donovan McNabb, incredible. Did a draft that will take a 0 at tight end in week 14 bad, or wish for matchup luck or reality? It doesn't matter because I won't make it. Well, unfortunately, the last part is really the truth. The reality is most of our teams are not going to make it to week 14. Most of our teams will be wiped out by week 6. The math says if you make week 6, congratulations. Here's your participation trophy. You've done a good job, because it's really hard to even make it to week 6. But nonetheless, if we pretend you did make it to week 14, no, it's not over. It's not over. It's 0 at tight end. Your opponent, like, there's just so much variance. I would love to say I have every answer to all of the strategy and stuff for Eliminator, but the unfortunate real answer to most questions is luck, variance, right? Whatever we want to call it. Like, who do you get matched with? Does that guy have injuries? Does that guy have week 14 bye issues? Does that guy have, just a bad week, right? He could not have week 14 bye issues, but his 2 tight ends he has 3 tight ends and they score 4 total points. So, oh no, you lost 4 points at tight end. Like, can you beat them? Sure, of course. Or does he show up? You take a 0 at tight end. He has Trey McBride, and Trey McBride scores 30. Like, are you dead? No, you're definitely not dead. There's a scenario in which you win. Is there a scenario in which you are dead? Absolutely. Would I prefer not to have like some of those bye week issues? Of course. But does it mean it's over? Absolutely not. You're just playing a head-to-head every single week. The variance, who you get matched with, what happens with their team is really high variance, super duper high variance. Take Malik Neighbors. The first Donovan McNabb introduction was amazing, says Kai. It's really funny. Yeah. The episode where they pretend to be crippled in season 1. It's clearly from another era. You cannot make this stuff anymore. That's for sure. I mean, they're still making the show, of course. They've kind of outlasted the like sort of PC movement. So obviously, I love Brian Thomas Jr. 20% of my Malik Neighbors teams have Brian Thomas Jr. Drake London, also a huge, especially if we're talking about Eliminator type guys. Drake London is a huge Eliminator target for me that I really got to get this exposure up to. I've had so many picks in like the top 5, so I have a ton of Gibbs and CD, and actually a good amount of Chase. But I really got to get my Drake London up. Like, want to talk about an awesome Eliminator pick. I know he has the week 5 bye, but with like what we're looking at in terms of especially early season target share, Darnell Mooney every day feels like he's not going to be ready for week 1. Like, just sign me up for 1 million Drake London targets to start the season for sure. And he's just he's a good pick in all formats. But in the Eliminator, of course, if you're particularly worried about the beginning of the season and right total points, those early season weeks like could be huge for Drake London. On drafters in the marathon, etc. Shug gets all the Sunny references. Another Sunny fan. So I constantly reference the show, and like the Pepe Sylvia meme, GIF, whatever you want to call it, is easily one of my favorite on planet Earth. It's so good. It fits absolutely everything. Like in our game, in our stupid little fantasy football and best ball world, the whole Pepe Sylvia, smoking a cigarette with the wire on all the stuff all over the wall is just beautiful. That was right. You could use that that meme, that GIF, whatever you want to call it, for like Charles' question earlier, is my team dead? I'm taking a 0 at tight end in week 14. What's my path to winning? It's like, doing the Carol. There's just so many great references. So good. Yeah, this is what this is what I think variance and like the chaos and stuff, that's why I'm maxing the Eliminator. I was a little annoyed at the change in the format. I mentioned that earlier into the head-to-head stuff, but it's also going to make it pretty fun, I think. And at the end of the day, the fun part of it like gets forgotten sometimes when we talk about most of the best ball stuff. And like I had sort of forgotten it a little bit too. Like I had sort of lost the plot, I think, a bit. And like, why do like some people prefer total points? Why do I honestly prefer the playoff formats, right? With all the week 17 stuff and, advance rate kind of mattering a little bit less because week 17 is all that matters and all that. Why do I prefer that? Is because that like variance and chaos and the fun of the sweat is what like makes the game so great. And I don't want to like lose track of that just because it's like, oh, it could be a slightly better version. I don't think I've drafted Garrett Wilson, and then 3% Garrett Wilson in the Eliminator. See here, we'll definitely be building out a 0 RB team here. Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Garrett Wilson. You want some targets? You want target share? You want an Eliminator wide receiver room that's going to get a ton of targets to start the season? This is it, brother. Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Garrett Wilson. You want to build an Eliminator 0 RB-ish wide receiver room? That is it. I actually don't have I'm about to close this out. Well, depending upon what Beast Burf does here. Damn it. JSN would have been such a beautiful addition to this team. I'm going to go with Worthy, actually. I need to get that up. I know that we just got the Rishi news, but I'm considering possibly pouncing on that later if he's available to me. Yeah, Chiefs. Fucking Chiefs, man. Let's see. Wild card, bitches. Shug gets mad, who've never watched or heard of Sunny. That's so good. Chris says, I know it has no bearing because it's beyond dated, but I do enjoy a viewing of the league. Oh, man, the league. So I was listening to the guy who plays Rafi. He's a pretty successful actor, right? He's in The Good Place and he's been in other stuff. He's very funny. The guy who plays Rafi in the league is really, really funny. And he was on somebody's podcast and was like, like I've done a lot of stuff. Nobody knows who I am. He's like, the only people that ever like address me in public are league fans. And they like go crazy and they think, he like, we all think that these guys like are similar to who their character is. And he's like the opposite. He's like an intellectual. Like his real life personality is not Rafi at all. It's like actually the stone cold opposite of what Rafi is, this crazy idiot, prankster, like just outlandish character. And he joked, he's like, I wear like glasses and cardigans and, read books and like, don't have social media and all that kind of, he's like, I could not be more different from my character, which was cool to learn. What a good actor to be able to turn into that. To the character, like he's on Parks and Rec. The Rafi guy was on Dennis Feinstein. Yeah, Dennis Feinstein on Parks and Rec, also on The Good Place. He's played a lot of great roles. What's your favorite shows of all time? Also, I love Wydad slipping in his Canadian favorite of all time, not including comedy. Woof. I watch mostly comedy shows, so that is a good question. The Wire. The Wire's definitely up there. Damn, this room is feeding me a 0 running back team, by the way. Where I don't even know what Rice's ADP is. And of course he went off. Who the fuck did that? We got sharp room. We got a sharp room here. All right. Well, let's put this zero running back thing to the test, shall we? Take Jameson Williams. We're going to start with 6 wide receivers. Maybe we'll see. We'll see if we. Yeah, I think we're probably going to start with 6 wide receivers. Let's see. Mahomes. I just want to see what my quarterback options are going to be. Penix. I don't really want to do Russ. Penix, Fields, Mahomes, Goff. Okay. We're good. It's a good question. I'll have to think about my favorite shows. There you go. Jason Mantzoukas. Is that how you say his last name? Okay, look, guys. I mean, I understand running backs are more valuable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Devontae Smith at the 603 is that's ridiculous. That's obscene. Jameson Williams at the 510, Devontae Smith at the 603. That's just silly. Like I said, I understand running backs are more valuable. I'm gonna figure out how to get my ass into the top 6 of the first round of the week 1 matchup here with all of these guys. I understand I'm going to be losing points at running back, but I'm going to be gaining them at wide receiver. Let's see if we can't do it. The other night, one thing that's nice about this, I think, and I have built like 2, 8, 6, 2 teams. So I'm going to throw as much volume at the running back position as I possibly can on a team like this and just say, look, I don't know. Touchdowns are random. Sean Tucker, Keaton Mitchell, who knows? Will Shipley could score a touchdown because the Eagles beat the shit out of somebody. Right? Braylon is a good pick. Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, good picks. What if Sharps gets more work? Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, blah, blah. Like, there's just so many options that I can try to, beef up. Obviously, I'm a Dameon Pierce guy. Like, I straight up think Dameon Pierce is like probably going to be the lead back for the Texans to start the season. Like, I can backfill with that type stuff. I think there's ways. Yeah, exactly. Can stop at 6. So I'll just stop at 6 wide receivers and we're good. My only bye week concern is 9 when Garrett Wilson and Devontae are on bye. But guess what? We have Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, and Jameson Williams for week 9. I have 4 receivers. I need to use 3 of their scores and maybe 1 in the flex, whatever. Those clips of Fields missing his wide receivers in practice hurt. Yeah, you just can't watch Justin Fields. It's not fun. It's not pretty. I mean, the running is fun, but don't watch Justin Fields play football because it's not going to be. He's going to airmail it. He throws the football like he's trying to throw it through a brick wall every time, and it's like, can we just get a little touch? And then sometimes when he tries to use touch, you notice like it's way too much. It's way too light. He has still never figured out like medium. Like his changeup is like 40 miles an hour. His fastball is 105 and he throws his changeup underhand. It's like the changeup can just be like a slight, like just take a little bit off. Damn, Mahomes would have been sick. I'm actually gonna do Hawk. So with Addison suspended, I think one of the interesting winners from that perspective in Eliminator in drafters, cumulative scoring is TJ Hawkinson. And I don't think that the market is necessarily thinking about him as a winner here. I do need to look at quarterback and of course running back. I'm really not all that interested in. I mean, I'm okay with Dobbins, but I think we can double tap tight end if I want. I could double tap tight end so I could be done, and then double tap quarterback still in the window coming up here. Kelsey or Andrews? Kelsey or Andrews? Kelsey. Let's do. I'm actually going to do Andrews with the Rice news. If we had not gotten that weirdo Rashee Rice news to start, I think I would have done Travis Kelsey for early season, right? Theoretically, no Rashee Rice, and I have Xavier Worthy, so I would have like combined the two of them into some early season Chiefs production without Rice and maybe without Hollywood. The Hollywood stuff's getting scarier by the day, but now I'm not entirely sure what to do. So let's just take Mark Andrews instead. I know Isaiah Likely's hurt. I don't know what the hell's going on with Rashee Rice. Yeah, Benny says also lots of QBs have clips of bad throws in practice. Everybody makes a bad throw occasionally, even Mahomes and Lamar and Burrow and stuff. Yeah, like Tebow back in the day, don't watch, just wait for the fantasy scores after the game is over. 100%. You're not going to enjoy it if you watch, so I don't know why you would do it, but just you're going to get your fantasy points. Just deal with it, right? Go watch a more fun game than Jets, especially like Jets Steelers. Week 1 Jets Steelers. Don't watch that one. Not going to be pretty. The new format is good. They certainly could have done both or like a mini version of the other from an eliminator perspective. I agree, but I do like that they made this nice and big, though it clearly could have been bigger. It's going to fill like today or tomorrow. Yeah, this is the crazy thing about this is like you're going to have really good teams that get knocked out, like, and you're going to put up big scores. You're going to have really good teams that get knocked out. When we look back and like, which we will do as we do in best ball every year. Well, look at this is the winning team from the eliminator. So this is how you construct the best eliminator team, right? Here's the best way to construct a roster, because didn't you see the winner? And it's like, that's not how it works. And that's definitely not going to be how it works in eliminator. The winner is just like a congratulations, you survived. Like, did you get lucky along the way? Who the fuck knows? Probably. Did other teams that were even better than yours get unlucky? Probably. It's just, but that's fun. Like that's what makes this format awesome to me. Okay, I do need to pay attention a little bit here. I like Drake May. Unstacked is fine. Unstacked Drake May is totally fine. Let's see here. Goff, JJ McCarthy, or take Penix later. Who does New England play in week 5? Just to get a vibes based. How do I feel about Drake May? The Bills. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether I go get Michael Penix, or try to wait on Michael Penix with my next pick and risk that. Let's see what's available at running back. Is there a running back here that I really want? Yeah, let's do Dylan Sampson. Actually, I could take the the Goff here. The Goff. I don't know why I called him the Goff. I could take the Goff. Weird. Anyway, I did enjoy the Taylor Swift clip from the New Heights podcast where she didn't understand football. She's like, well, I thought just like Josh Allen and Jared Goff, like they blow the whistle and those guys like attack each other or whatever. That was quite funny. But Dylan Sampson, I know you might seem rich or whatever, but I don't foresee Quinshon Judkins being a factor early in the season. So I get the Sampson thing is kind of like what we talked about with, this is a shitty version, which is fitting that it's the Browns, a shitty version of the like Ibuka thing at running back. But I get this rookie who could have early season. Like, I obviously need some early season production from my running back, but also, he's a rookie. There's a level of upside to his, just like, is he a star? right? Is he the lead back from day one on the Browns and Jerome Ford is just like mixing in? That's insanely valuable to me. His sort of wide range of outcomes is actually something I really need on this team. And obviously the quarterbacks are all flying off the board here, so this may not go my way. But yeah, this is probably not going to go my way. But Jesus Christ, everybody scooping all the quarterbacks. Hurts. Let's see. This is the golf team probably takes a quarterback too. Okay, Kyler Purdy. The Knicks team has to. Jesus Lord, sweating out this quarterback stuff is not very fun. Gerardo says, "Do you stack quarterbacks in eliminators?" Yes, I do. Obviously, I did not just stack Drake May here, so color me hypocritical, but I still want to stack if I can. Though, you know, it's also not as it's never mandatory. I don't mean mandatory, but it's definitely there. We go. All right, Penix does make it back. So does McCarthy. Shit. I'm gonna take Penix though. Just I know this is absolutely like nothing, but there's a one little, you know, ownership big kind of gap. I believe that's with Hawkinson. You know, like pretty much, you know, 33% of my TJ Hawkinson teams have JJ McCarthy, as they kind of should. It could have gone either way. I was sort of set on Michael Penix, so I think I was very biased in just like I wanted Michael Penix from the jump. So Beast Burf gets the fall on JJ McCarthy. See if we can get another running back here that helps us with some early season production. Because now we're right, 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, got my 6 wide receivers, gonna hammer some running backs and see if we can't manufacture. So, son of a bitch. Tank or Braylon? Tank is week 8. What week is Samson is 9, Braylon is 9. Let's do Tank. I mean, this is quite the fall. I understand ETN started and played the preseason game, but Tank did come in second. It's not like ETN was good in that game. I'm still into Tank, especially in Eliminator. I mean, all around. But you know, I think he can be an early season producer. I don't think that went away just because Travis Etienne started the preseason game and played the snaps with the ones. Did you do any weekly winners this year? I did not. That's so I always talk about, you know, I'm a sports nut. I'm a fantasy football nut, DFS betting. I mean, who doesn't love the NFL? But my favorite sports are actually college basketball and college football. I love the NBA. Like I watch more college basketball. I mean, I watch every NFL game and sometimes rewatch every NFL game. But like in terms of hours spent watching, like the college sports and NBA, I definitely watch more. Obviously, I enjoy baseball. I mean, I'm from St. Louis. I'm a diehard Blues fan. You see some Stanley Cup stuff. There's pucks and everything back here. I'm a diehard Blues fan, so I'm particularly gotten more into hockey over. Well, you know, they won the cup a few years back, and that certainly helped reinvigorate my love. So, some things in sports have to fall through the cracks, right? It's like, you know, I just can't also spend every Saturday watching every UFC event. I actually quite like golf, but I don't really watch much golf because I have to draw a line somewhere. I already spend too much time watching, talking about, thinking about sports. I do have a wife and dogs and nieces, and you know, try to spend some time with the family and everything. And so something has to get cut. That's the exact same thing with my best ball. Like I'm going to draft 1,200 to 1,500 teams, give or take. And you have to draw a line somewhere because there's so many contests I want to play. I want to play 150 in the Eliminator. I'm playing 150 in all the mains, right? DraftKings, BBM, and the Drafters main event. So there's 450. There's 600. Maxing, you know, I enjoy the Superflex stuff like a lot. I enjoy Superflex, you know, some of those a little bit more niche tournaments, and I know weekly winners is one of those, but it's kind of the least exciting format to me, with the least kind of financial upside, you know. So I just had to draw the line somewhere. It's just a personal preference thing. I don't think you can play them all and like still have a life. I guess you could technically play all these things, you know, and feel like you want to kill yourself probably. But let's just buy this Browns backfield, shall we? Let's check our buys. Obviously, that's 2 week 9s. Put some fellers in the queue here. Hopefully we can get one of these 2. My head canon on the elim is the winner will be whoever can carry the most injured starters through the first half of the season, still advance, and those starters come back and smash. I love that take. Love it. Right? Injured, suspensions. How can you weather the storm? Because what you're getting, if you can weather the storm, you know, for those 3 Addison weeks, like I mentioned on the last team, you're getting a 6th roundish player in the, I'm going to do Tyler Algier. So I've kind of bought the, right, I've bought the Browns running back production by taking both Sampson and Ford. I'm hoping to get usable weeks out of one of those guys to start the season, right? Tank, can he also kind of help me be a usable week-ish guy, maybe with some upside? And then but I need to mix in some swings as well. Like I'm going to take 8 running backs and I want to kind of layer them in. So get some like kind of straight home run contingent value guys, Algier, right? Maybe a Shipley or a Corum or a Hunter or something like that. But then also I don't want to do all like praying for small standalone value guys. I want to have a mix of like, I want a complete home run swing or 2 or 3 amongst the 8. And then also let's buy some discounted early season production as well. And I think if you can execute it, I'm not saying I will execute it here, but I think if you can execute it, you can build some really seriously awesome 0 running back eliminator teams, because nobody is willing to do it. And those people, right, you'll get some good prices on some cheaper running backs because everybody else has invested at the running back position. If all of my opponents, like, let's take a look in this room. You know, so there's 6 running backs in the first round, and then 4 more in the second, right? James Conner is in a 3rd round pick. 3rd round. Look at the running backs flying off the board, you know, and I'm not saying it's even wrong, but Kamara, Chuba, all these guys. DeAndre Swift is a 5th round pick. Tony Pollard is a 5th round pick. It's not that they're wrong. They're going to have their early season production, but my opponents are drafting all of those guys, so they have a little less likelihood to be scooping a ton of later running back value, which opens the doors for you to build this like insane 8 running back room, and of course there goes Keaton, but you can find some values later that can actually suit your needs for the type of running back production you need, whether it's the home run swing or whether it's some early season stuff. St. Louis Blues, best team name in sports. I think our friend For Best Ball, I don't remember if it's Bruce or For Best Ball or one of you guys out there loves my other team, probably the team I'm most passionate, actually the team I am most passionate about for sure. I don't know how my wife did this to me, but I'm a huge basketball fan, right? Like I love football. I played college football. I coached football. I played Little League. My dad was a high school football coach, you know, my whole life essentially. So I think I come from like football blood. But basketball, for whatever reason, like I thought I was going to play college basketball. I thought I was going to, you know, probably not go to the NBA, right? But I thought I was going to be a basketball player. And then, you know, you're 6 foot and white, and like I was a good athlete, but not that special of an athlete relative to what it takes to be like a Division I basketball player. I did play some basketball at McKendree my first semester. I went to school called McKendree before I transferred. And I did actually play basketball and football, but I quit the basketball team because I had to I literally went to football practice every day, went to dinner, and then went to basketball practice in the evenings. And that sucked bad, really, really bad. So I quit playing basketball after the first semester. But nonetheless, I was an absolute like basketball fiend. And so my wife has converted me into a St. Louis Billikens, St. Louis University, the college in St. Louis. They have a pretty good basketball program. I'm particularly in love with their current head coach. They have Robbie Avila, for anybody that the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, big white center that wears goggles, who's an awesome player. And my wife went to school at SLU and was on the dance team and eventually actually coached the dance team at SLU. And she has converted me into a diehard SLU basketball fan. Like I said, I don't know how she do it, but like we have season tickets. We go to all the games and I sweat those harder than anything. My few teams with Rasheed weekly winners, praying for that early season production. Yeah, I just still can't believe that's what a roller coaster of honestly, the last year plus of Rashee Rice. What an insane roller coaster, man. This is so ridiculous. He's suspended. He's not suspended. I'm like simultaneously excited to dig into this and see. The problem is I think he's just going to go shoot up now. Like, I don't know. Is he going to rock? I don't know. I don't want to. I just said I wasn't going to speculate on it earlier. And I don't think it's wise, but I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens with Rice in drafts. Wow. 16th round of Rondé Gadsden. Ice. What does that say? Ice up, son. Ice up, son. 617 is definitely a go get your guys season. I respect it, man. Gibbs, Lamar, T, Travion, Flowers, Diggs, Caleb Johnson, Jordan Addison, Ingram, Mooney, Kyle Williams, Cam Ward in the 12th. I guess Cam Ward in the 12th is correct. Ray Davis, Jalen McMillan, Keaton in the 15th, Rondé Gadsden in the 16th, A.D. Mitchell in the 17th. That is go get your guys. That's my kind of drafter right there. Which, of course, that was the theme of yesterday's show. If you have not watched, go check that one out. Quite fun and hopefully informative. I do think it is absolutely go get your guys season. And I respect Ice Up, son. Ice Up, son, for doing so. $280 drafts. I only took Rice once, and this happens. We'll find. I still don't even know if that's. I still don't even know how you should feel, if I'm being completely honest. Sean Tucker, how's my week 9 sitch looking? I think I have 2 week 9 guys already. Fuck. Well, week 9 is going to be a mess. Week 9, Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier, Rico Dowdle. Let me get some queue ups. Oh, Beast Burf. I knew it. I don't know if I should have. I don't think I would have got Tucker to come back to me anyway. So Damian Pierce goes. That stinks. Pierce is such a good pick on these kind of limb teams. I think he's a good pick overall, but he's a really good pick, I think, on these specific eliminator teams. So the question becomes, do I take Woody or do I take Manungai? What's Woody's week 6? Ollie Gordon goes. I don't think I have 6 or 5. No, I do have Tyler Algier in week 5. Let's do Manungai. Come on. Half PPR. This were a DraftKings eliminator. I think we would do Woody. But let's run down the team super quick, and then we're going to hop on over to Drafters, use a lot of our same eliminator style tactics in a cumulative scoring format over on Drafters, but we started with an extreme zero running back team, and we jammed in the targets: Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Xavier Worth. Then we kind of blended in some upside guys like Xavier Worthy, Jamison Williams. I can't pass on Devontae Smith at the 603. TJ Hawkinson and Mark Andrews, of kind of interesting / fun veteran tight end room that also projects a little bit better early season eliminator. Drake May, unstacked, fine. Dylan Sampson, Michael Penix, of course, stacked with Drake London. And then we are click and pray, baby. Let's get some early season / overall season upside. Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford. We bought the Browns. I do like that, actually. Buying the Browns backfield with no Judkins, Tyler Algier, Rico Dowdle, Will Shipley, Sean Tucker, and Kyle Monangai. I'll be honest with you. I like this. I like this team. I understand this is not everyone's cup of tea in terms of how they want to build eliminator teams, but I quite enjoy this kind of structure, zigging when others are zagging, et cetera, et cetera. Oops. My 1 of 12 in the drafters, $20. Looks like I need 10 of you to join this drafters draft to fill. We can hit some comments while that fills up there. If you have not signed up for drafters, by the way, if you're unaware, this is your first time. What the hell is drafters? It's another best ball site, of course, like Underdog, like DraftKings, like our friends over at Fast Draft. And every Friday, I give away 3 tickets to this Drafters main event. Shout out to our friends at Drafters that have graced us with the ability to give away tickets every single week to their $20 main event. And let's see how's the $3 looking. $3, 5 of 12. I'm gonna jump in the $3 for anybody that wants to join me over there, and we'll pop out of the. I'm just not sure we're going to be able to fill the 20. Couple quick things on the drafters stuff. They have a couple of fun promos, as you mentioned. Give away three free tickets every Friday. If you have not signed up over there and you use code SPIKE when you sign up, your first deposit, you get 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So you sign up, you use code SPIKE, you deposit $100, you get another $100. So that's 5 free entries to the Drafters main event. You show up on Fridays, you comment on some Spike Week videos, you get a chance to win some free tickets every Friday as well. And then right now, they have a promo going in August that is if you draft essentially consecutive days. If you do 10 consecutive days, you get a free ticket, plus you get a pick'em ticket for week 1. 20 is another milestone. 30, which I'm going for 30. We're going for gold. 30 days in a row of drafting a fast draft into their main event. You win 3. They give you 3 free tickets. So on September 1st, they'll put 3 free tickets into your account. That also goes with a bunch of other like promos that they have. Let me see if I can find in their chat over here. They essentially, this tournament is going to overlay. The $20 is. The $3 is not going to overlay, which we need just one more for the $3. It's going to overlay, meaning it's not going to fill all the way. There's going to be probably several thousand spots in the tournament that do not fill in the $20, which means it's a lot easier for us to make money if the tournament doesn't fill. Like Eliminator is going to fill today. Doesn't mean that we don't want to play it. We just drafted a bunch of teams into it. I'm drafting 150 teams into the Eliminator. However, if this thing doesn't fill, that's good. That's good for us as players. So it's probably the most plus EV tournament out there to play because 1, it's probably not going to fill. We know that that's really good for us. And 2, they give away so many free tickets. So you can get so many entries into the tournament for free. Right? We don't get that in BBM. We do get that in the DraftKings Millie, but they're, Eliminator, you're not getting free entries. You got to pay full freight to play. And there's just like so many ways to get free stuff and have your $20 be worth more than $20 on drafters. Picking out of the 102, our buddy B. Kurt picking right next to me. Wonderful. Two Mules is in here. Shout out Kevin in the 12 spot. Up to 125 already in this $3. Good Lord. That's a real best ball sicko. Let's do CD, huh? I've been doing Gibbs. I've been doing enough Gibbs. Let's do CD. Michael says part of my weekly winner strategy was drafting for every bye week. So I'll have some teams that are completely intact for every bye week, hoping that pays off. I will say I think that look at that. Bernie taking our Drake London love and having some fun. I love it. Moving Drake London around the board, getting him paired with different players is a tactic we talked about last night in the lab, which is if you are part of the Spike Week Discord, specifically the premium sections of the Discord, we do something on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern that we call the lab, where it's a big Zoom hangout and something that we talked, we just talk ball, right? Talk best ball strategy. And something that we talked about last night specifically was Drake London being a guy who looks even more appealing again for these cumulative scoring formats where week one is just this, I think he's a good, I straight up think he's a really good pick in any format of best ball right now. Drake London he's a priority for me to continue to get more shares of, but in these eliminator, right, total points, in marathon, drafters, all that kind of stuff, he's even looking even more valuable given what we expect the early season role to be. So I think he's just an awesome pick, and an awesome pick specifically on drafters to move around the board. Something that I think people should do more often in these drafts. The power of some of the unique combinations of players is heightened in a total points format because you're competing against every single team, right? Even Saquon Barkley teams last year, from an advance rate perspective, there was only, call it 50% of the Saquon teams advanced. Now that's a huge number, but there's only even the really good Saquon teams are going to get knocked out, going to finish third in their pod, right? Or fifth, or they're going to have injuries. Now that's going to happen as well on drafters, but you're not competing with all the rest of those. Even when you make it to week 15, 16, and then of course 17 in say Best Ball Mania or on DraftKings, you're still only competing with so many Saquon teams or Jamar Chase teams or what have you. There's just a lot more variance given the smaller pods each step of the way, right? You only play against 11 teams to start, and there's only one of every player. And then even in weeks 15, 16, and 17, there's only so many of each players. In here, every Drake London team, you're competing against every other Drake London team. So every time you take someone that the other Drake London teams have, that's one less spot in your roster for you to be able to try to beat the other Drake London teams, right? You take your Drake London, Puka Nacua at the 1-2 turn, your Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, your Brian Thomas, Drake, whatever, your Christian McCaffrey, Drake London. It's there's thousands upon thousands of those teams. You take Drake London, you pull him over here, and you take him with Jonathan Taylor or something. You can go look. We have a tool called Tournament DB on Spike Week. You can see, because the data is available publicly, how many of those teams exist out there, right? You can go look. You can find out what different permutations of teams you based on real data of God damn it, Bernie. This is not ideal. I don't want to do Bucky. I know that one's super duper chalky. So let's also pull some guys up. Let's go get JSN and pull some guys up myself. But anyway, you go look at Tournament DB and you can see exactly how many combinations of all these different players there are. And wouldn't you rather have a team if Drake London is going to be, if you don't like Drake London, sure, don't draft him. But if you like Drake London, wouldn't you like is very unique with Drake London as opposed to the same first 4 or 5 guys on the Drake London teams that thousands of other people have drafted. I'm going to go do George Kittle now. So CeeDee Lamb, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, George Kittle. Bernie wants you to draft different. I know. And I just want to draft Trey McBride again. Speaking of not combinations of players that are not done very, very much together. Bernie gets London, Trey McBride, Lamar Jackson. All that being said about the unique combinations of players, I am going to draft a ton of Trey McBride, even with chalky combos. I don't give a shit. He's too good. Just joined, says ML. I'm guessing we already discussed Rashee Rice, sort of. I'm saving the majority of the conversation for tomorrow on tomorrow's show because, of course, Fridays, as we do, recap the week that was in training camp news and all the fantasy relevant stuff, Coach Speak, etc. Shout out to the Coach Speak Index if you're not following that or you're not in Greg's Discord over at CSI. I don't know what you're doing, but of course, I'm gobbling up all the 32 beat writers, Coach Speak Index, everything on social media, the Athletic, all that kind of stuff, and trying to condense it down into all the most notable things from that week for our fantasy drafts, our best ball drafts. And so we'll do that tomorrow. I'm going to make sure to gather some more information because we can discuss Rashee as much as we want. I don't know. I'm not as I mentioned, I'm a bird law expert, not a lawyer. So I don't exactly know what it all means for Rashee in real time. We'll try to, I doubt I'll even know. I doubt anyone can say that they know exactly what it means for Rice overall, but I do want to gather a little bit more information on it. Yeah, sorry, Joe. I apologize for making you get into the main there, but we're going to be hammering a bunch of drafts here down the stretch. If you would like to draft with myself or with my buddy Rob here at Spike Week, he will be doing so on Sunday. He does a Sunday morning stream, Sicko Sundays. I forget which one he calls it. And he'll be drafting on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Our time, apparently, here at Spike Week. And he's also going to be doing a marathon stream coming up here pretty soon, in which he's going to draft for many, many hours in a row. And that will be also on Drafters. So be on the lookout for a marathon stream incoming from Rob, because he's a psychopath and he loves to do these crazy ideas. Jonathan prefers the Sicko free lobbies. I would not push back on that. It can be fun though sometimes to be, because we all think similarly, but then once we start to deploy a strategy, we do it in very different ways, and then we kind of can all stay in our lanes. Of course, all do tend to like a lot of the same players, which is a different sort of issue. But let's just go get Travion, huh? See if the 101 takes James Cook. I don't love James Cook. We also discussed that in the lab last night a little bit, where I don't love him. Should we buy? Wow, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels team over here. Should we buy James Cook for some slightly unique combinations of players? I don't know. I have 5% total, 18% Devontae. Zay looks good on this team, though. You know what? No, let's do it, right? Let's get a James Cook team with this combination of players. Let's look up while we're waiting. Then let's look up what the James Cook teams look like in the old draft IQ, or excuse me, tournament DB. So if you go to spikeweek.com, you go under tools and you go to tournament DB, you can see, I like to use the draft board. It's the most visually appealing view for me. So obviously this is how many times players have been drafted. It'll be 100% for all of these guys, but you can punch in, right? James Cook, and then poof, it'll filter down to the James Cook teams, and you can see how often he's drafted with all of these different players. So I took CeeDee Lamb. Okay, CeeDee Lamb, 13% of James Cook teams. Now this is the $20. Obviously, if I really wanted to, I could go. You can. This drop down does have all the different tournaments on Drafters, but just for sake of this conversation, let's just look at the $20. And so Travion, you see over here. So just 5% of James Cook teams have Travion. So okay, we're sitting good here. Excuse me. And then we go over where I really thought it was interesting, and I'm glad to be confirmed. My guess about George Kittle plus James Cook. Only 2% of James Cook teams have George Kittle on them. So we're building a different James Cook team, and I agree that, as Tim said, he's surprised that Cook isn't rising more frequently. That was my concern. I don't love James Cook, even in the 5th round. Don't love, but if I'm going to be able to get different versions of James Cook teams than the rest of the market is going to do, like we did here, and still get him in the 5th, I think that is pretty fun, right? Travion, we love. George Kittle, we love, and then to get him with JSN, of course, is, I think, not super, 6%, right? So this is definitely let's just look at him plus CD. Let's look at those teams and see how they look with our other guys here. So James Cook plus CeeDee Lamb. Okay, so still have 6% of them still have JSN, but there's four total: George Kittle, James Cook, CeeDee Lamb. 23 total: Travion, James Cook, CeeDee Lamb. So you can type in even more players, right? You don't have to restrict it down to just 2. And we can quickly see, here's what the James Cook, CeeDee Lamb, George Kittle teams look like. None of them have JSN. None of them have Travion, right? So instantly, you can see what those 4 teams look like. It's pretty spread out. 50% have David Njoku. 50% have Brock Purdy. Doesn't matter that much. Once we have 0 JSN, 0 Travion, I think we're pretty good. But just wanted to give a little tour day tournament DB. As Mossy said, I agree. Best tool and best ball. That's my very biased take. The Draft Hacker, Draft IQ, Tournament DB, to be able to dig into all of that different stuff, I think just gives you like an unparalleled level of knowledge about what your what your opponents are doing, and what your own portfolio even looks like, which I think are some of the most under-discussed things in all of best ball. It's why we try to discuss them as much as we possibly can. So yeah, Olave. Yeah, I'm down to buy. Let's pick 71, Chris Olave. We'll see. What I would love to happen here is one player in particular, but the 101 does seem to be a bit of a wider. Oh, Travis Kelce, gonna need double. Okay, that's fine. I'll take Matthew Golden. Love it. Golden being kind of the last of a tier here now. It's funny how, as we talked about before, like Ibuka, Golden are now like these early season plays, potentially Golden, because of the Jaden Reed injury that we have no idea what the hell is even going on with Jaden Reed. Speaking of the teams not having to or feeling the need to tell us exactly what's wrong, that's what we're getting with the Packers. But Matthew Golden, kind of the last man standing, if you will, amongst healthy wide receivers with upside in this range, and he is a priority for me right now. I mean, another first-round pick wide receiver. We just don't generally get those guys in the 7th round anymore. So even though I'm not a diehard Matthew Golden fan, I didn't particularly love him as a prospect, being a more like efficiency driven, target earning and efficiency driven, I watch tape too, right? Just watch them play. I watched him too. And I do think he down the stretch at Texas. He was a big recruit, went to Houston, was held back, whatever, air quotes, by the Houston situation, though outproduced by teammates at Houston. And then transfers to Texas and really comes out slow out of the gates at Texas. And down the stretch kind of takes over as the wide receiver one and is much more productive, much more efficient, earns more targets down the stretch. So that's kind of the thing that we're, I think, latching onto for him as a prospect. And of course, his movement skills, speed, agility, athleticism, etc., are all quite nice. But the prospect profile from a production standpoint, even at Texas, is pretty scary. It reminds me a lot of AD Mitchell, who was the same exact kind of player, right? Keon Coleman and AD Mitchell last year were two wide receivers who I was much lower on than the market and than the NFL market, but specifically the best ball market. And the pushback, anytime we would say, he really was not very productive and he really was inefficient, like as a pass catcher, didn't earn that many targets. And when he did, it wasn't pretty from a yardage, efficiency perspective. You say, well, you're just you care too much about yards per route run. You need to watch the tape, bro. You need to go watch the games. I'm like, first of all, I do. I watch all the games. I watch the tape of the players as well. And I didn't even really see it, right? Trust me, AD Mitchell is always open. He's always open. They just don't throw it to him. You don't get it. Keon's yards per route run is not, that would be it was always the go watch the game. Just watch. His film is great. And it's like, well, how'd the rookie season go for Keon and AD Mitchell? Not so great. So maybe, there is something to earning targets and playing efficiently at the college level if you're going to play efficiently at the NFL level. And I draft a bunch of Keon. Actually, I've dabbled in AD Mitchell because I kind of like now, but right now the market is not out on Keon. He's going in the 90s, but is a little bit more out on those guys. And then they become a little more appealing for me. But when we're paying the premium for concerning prospect profiles, I think that's difficult. It's difficult for me. I like Matthew Golden a little bit better than those guys as a prospect. And of course, he was a first-round pick, and those players were second-round picks. It's a reasonably substantial difference, but nonetheless, it's not the most exciting profile unless you do watch the tape, bro. Just watch him run routes. If drafters launched a 10 or 15-second clock, they might be able to increase fill rate. I know I would draft more. Yeah, I just don't think you can feasibly do a 10 or 15-second clock. I think it's an interesting idea that you just there'd be too many auto picks. You have to have a certain amount of time to allow people to get a notification on their phone, go to the app, and make a selection. Underdog already has problems. He dunks on Keon and then probably takes him. Typical best ball streamer. Dunk on Matthew Golden and Keon Coleman and then take them. But I do think they're pretty good upside bets at cost. Really good, actually, upside bets at cost. Even though, aren't you worried about their? Oh, yes, I'm exceptionally worried. I've been trying not to take Dak with CD because, as mentioned, in tournament DB, another thing you can see. Let's look at that really quickly because it's very hilarious to look at the amount of times. So let's remove James Cook and remove George Kittle. All right, so let's just look at CeeDee Lamb teams. Obviously, if you ever are to get a chance to take any of these, if Puka were to somehow fall, right, or CD were to somehow fall, and you're able to get CD and Puka, just do it. Aren't you worried about Puka Nacua? Don't care because no one has ever gotten CeeDee Lamb with Puka Nacua or Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you get Drake London or Ashton Genty or Brian Thomas, just do it. Nobody has those teams, right? Seem pretty similar with an AJ Brown, even a Derrick Henry, who I don't love. If you get the combination, just take it. However, If we scroll down a little bit, there's going to be a very dark purple number. You can barely see it because it's so dark. 48% of CeeDee Lamb teams have Dak Prescott. That's not to say we don't want Dak Prescott on CeeDee Lamb teams. The stack obviously makes a ton of sense. No one would deny that a good CeeDee Lamb season is very good for Dak Prescott and vice versa. And the Cowboys are a passing offense we want to invest in. But I'm quite concerned that half of the teams with CeeDee Lamb on them also have Dak Prescott on drafters, and I want to be under that number. I think there's a million scenarios in which CeeDee Lamb is awesome and Dak Prescott is not the best quarterback pick in his range. I think, we saw CD have a really good season last year, even when Dak got hurt. Dak doesn't really run anymore. I definitely don't expect him to be tush pushing with Dak Prescott, given his injury history. And so when I can get some other quarterbacks and it's just much, much, much lower owned, let's just look through the kind of quarterback window and see what the ownership is of CeeDee Lamb, right? So 6% Baker Mayfield, 6% Brock Purdy, 6% Caleb Williams, right? It's pretty flat amongst the other guys. 11% Kyler, 48% Dak Prescott, but then it's 5% McCarthy, 7% Goff, 9% Justin Herbert, 5% Michael Penix, probably because they don't get Drake London on those teams. But there's just so many other quarterbacks that we like. Let's look at what about the elites. Lamar is 4% with CeeDee Lamb. I probably should have taken Lamar Jackson on his team, but we got a different unique combination. Lamar is 4%. Josh Allen is 3% with CeeDee Lamb. The CD teams just don't see the elite quarterbacks. Hurts a decent clip. The CeeDee Lamb teams just really don't see some of these quarterbacks, because once you draft CD, it makes you feel like, well, I got to go get Dak now immediately. And people put him in the queue, right? Get prepped up. They build their team around the fact that they can get Dak Prescott in the 9th round. And I'm going to try to move the other way, even though I obviously love CeeDee Lamb and I like Dak Prescott as well. Two Mules computer crashed. What is this? 1995? Did you take the cartridge out and blow in it? Kidding, obviously. Tim had 0 Bo Nix teams yesterday. So I've been drafting him a couple times to make sure I don't full fade. If you don't like him, I think, full fade is fine. But if you're, I run into the Bo Nix issue too, by the way. I don't draft Cortland Sutton and I don't particularly like Evan Ingram. So you end up having to backstack him or just play him with RJ Harvey or JK Dobbins. And I don't love doing that. So I've been having to force some Bo Nix as well. See, this would be, I don't have, unfortunately, I can't take advantage of this Caleb stuff. Although I could take Burden. I think the correct answer here is to take Burden, because then I can do Burden Caleb if the 101 doesn't take. Yeah, this is absolutely the correct answer. I take Burden. He has Mahomes, so he's not going to double tap. And if he does double tap quarterback, so be it. But then I can have my choice of either, if he takes Caleb, fine. If he takes May, fine. If he takes both, shit out of luck. But I'm totally happy having either one of those guys on my team. I prefer Caleb, given the ADP fall and given my, I have my 8% of Drake May. I only have 3% of Caleb Williams. He's thinking. And there goes Drake May. So now we take Caleb. Bingo, bango, bongo. That works. Ion says one way to use the 48% Dak CD info, be more confident punting Dak. Dak is not taken often without CD, so he could fall. Definitely. Not getting Dak and CD increases your uniqueness versus the field. I totally agree. If you were entering into a DFS tournament and knew Dak CD would be 4% owned, wouldn't you hammer it? Well, it depends on some other stuff in the DFS tournament, but generally speaking, Yeah, but it's not, it's not really. If you want to clarify kind of what you're talking about, like it's not. It's ownership in best ball. The combination stuff is because every player is technically only 8%, right? So what you're saying is only 4% of teams have Dak and CD. What I'm saying is that's the single highest ownership in all. So what you're describing is only 4%, but it's the highest owner, right? You're talking about the chalkiest, literally the chalkiest combination in all of best ball. Let me just pull up those. If we go to common combos, once this loads up for me here, you will see that it's the single highest combination on the board. So like it's not like the 4% thing is very misleading, because what you're really competing with is all of the other CeeDee Lamb teams. Once we've decided that CeeDee Lamb is the right first round pick, it's not like a 4% ownership thing. It's like, okay, now everybody else is eliminated. CeeDee Lamb is the nuts. I'm competing against all those teams. They all have Dak on them, right? You can't just look at it versus the entire field. So yeah, look at this. Total number of drafts, Dak Prescott plus CeeDee Lamb is way high. Actually, Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton being second highest is really funny. It's the single highest combination that exists in all of best ball. Dak by quite a bit, by more than 10% over second place. Right? There's like all these other combinations down here in the 1,000 range. It's 2,000. It's extremely popular. So I do understand what you're saying, that like relative to the overall number of teams, it's like there is no possible like super popular combination. The most you can get is 8%, but it's what happens within that number, because there's, let's just, for basic math, let's call it 100,000 teams in the tournament. 8,000 of them have CeeDee Lamb. Now, once you've taken that, now you're competing against all those 8,000. What do those 8,000 look like? As opposed to how many of those are there versus the 100,000 that you start with? Did you draft any of the big board on Underdog? I was looking through some squads and just found one where I got CD at 8, CMC at 17, Lamar at 41, and Hampton at 56. I didn't do that's one of those, we talked about it earlier, where like some things have to be we have to take some breaks. That's also the season of baseball. That's March Madness. That's I'm focusing on some other sports. NBA playoff basketball is one of my favorite formats, and so unfortunately, I did Penix go? I assume no. Ooh, okay. We're gonna take Pitts and set up Penix. This would be, oh shit, they have the same bye. We'll take the double bye. Week 5. This team is going to be the Stone Cold Nuts, and we're going to win without a Week 5 quarterback score. How about that? Yes, I could take a third, but QB's about to be wiped out. I think if Anthony Richardson or something falls back, would be interesting. I think he's actually quite a good fit. Like I could take Russ or something like that as well, because I have the Week 5 bye. Getting a guy who's early season. The guys that like a Russ, like an Anthony Richardson, that bench risk, they just got to survive till Week 5. They're a little more likely to survive to Week 5. Who do the Giants play in Week 5? That'd be a fun. Suck it, Bernie. Let's see. Week 5. Let's check out the Week 5 schedule for funsies. All right. Week 5. Obviously, we have our Falcons and our Bears on bye. And AR is at home in the Dome against Vegas. So that would be pretty fun. And oh yeah. This is how we do it right here. We try to get either Anthony Richardson, or I can take Russell Wilson because he plays the Saints. Just throw a touchdown to Tyrone Tracy on this team, and we are cooking. Let's see what else is out there. Bryce Young against Miami would be fine. I don't imagine Cam Ward would fall back. I don't even know if Cam Ward's still available, but Cam Ward would be okay at Arizona. Browns, I would not so into the Browns there in London against the Minnesota Vikings and the Brian Flores blitzing defense. But let's put either AR or Russ, I think. Who does Seattle play? Let's see. Seattle. Tampa. So Darnold JSN. I have JSN. So we got, this works just fine. We can turn this into a 3-quarterback team. I got any of those 3 quarterbacks available to me. Darnold, Anthony Richardson, Russell Wilson to cover that bye. I know I'm a little less of a bye week bro than your average bear, but I do I would like to have, try to get my 20 to 25 points in that week. I think it's helpful. Tyler Shuck against the Giants pass rush doesn't entice you? Yeah, that is a great call. And no, it does not. It also might just be Spencer Rattler. He seems to be the heavy favorite to be the starter for the Saints, which seems really bad for Tyler Shuck. Yeah, no, thank you. Ryan says his big board team he mentioned before that got seriously insane values. The team he has the highest hopes for. I think on DK, it was Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy. There's obviously a world Jefferson hits and you don't want McCarthy, says Paulino. Yeah, I do believe that's correct. That that was the early data dump from DraftKings. They, of course, so like the first 25% or so of their DK Millie, they've not since released any more data. Such a DraftKings move. I wish they would. That would be sweet. But we have that first chunk of publicly available data from DraftKings in Tournament DB as well. So you can go look at how those teams were drafted. And I believe you're correct. I can look it up, but I believe you're correct that the highest exposure combination is JJ McCarthy plus Justin Jefferson on DraftKings. It's funny. Nick says he's been having to stop clicking Zay Flowers. I have maybe needed to stop clicking Zay, but I can't bring myself to stop clicking Zay Flowers. Like sometimes 6th round Zay Flowers, I just don't get it. I also make fun of like when we say we don't get it, we don't get things, because like it's our job as best ball players to really micro-analyze everything. And even if we don't agree with it, the goal should be to try to understand. But I can't figure out the Zay Flowers. I've tried. I'm trying. I promise I'm trying to figure out the Zay Flowers thing, but I just can't. I can't figure it out. Bernie takes Richardson. Is there someone here that I value over the Darnold thing? No, let's just wrap Darnold, because I would really prefer not to get roped into Russell Wilson, and specifically because I have JSN. Like if I had Neighbors as opposed to having Tracy, I think it would be more appealing for Russ. But having Sam Darnold, I think this makes this team makes a ton of sense. And then let's play the hits, huh? Dare I say it's go get your guy season, he says. He reaches 6 picks or whatever for Will Shipley. Not exactly all that impressive, but nonetheless, getting Will Shipley onto the team. So we're through 15 rounds. There's a handful of picks left to go. This, of course, is the drafters. This is the $3. But today was a playoffs. No playoffs. It was the Jim Mora episode where we discussed Eliminator and cumulative scoring, because I do think there's a lot, they go quite hand in hand. Different formats, very different from your best ball manias and such. Drafted out of the 102 here. Started with CeeDee Lamb and then got a little funky. Got a unique start with Jackson Smith and Jigba, George Kittle, and then Travion Henderson and James Cook. So this is about 20 minutes or so ago. Walked through you can see the number of teams that have, right? No one has this start through 5 rounds. It has not happened. So from there, we're good, right? We have achieved our goal of a team that nobody is drafting with CeeDee Lamb, Jackson Smith and Jigba, George Kittle, Travion Henderson, and James Cook. No one even has lesser combinations of, doesn't have to be all 5 of those guys. So that's why we took James Cook. Even though I don't love him, we took James Cook to get that combination. Chris Olave in the 6th round, another guy I wasn't taking when he was more expensive and other guys were cheaper, the Abukas of the world, Diggs, Pearsall, etc. Those guys were cheaper than him, and he was more expensive than he is now. He has since sort of tumbled in drafts. And with that area of wide receiver being wiped out a little bit, I'm kind of hammering Chris Olave now. Matthew Golden, we discussed him as kind of a tier break at wide receiver. Keon Coleman, Tyrone Tracy is another guy, especially in eliminator and total points formats. Tracy's been like a pretty big priority for me right now. I think you can still buy the Scattaboo dip as well, but I think Tyrone Tracy comes out of the gates as a stronger play than maybe he was a month or 2 ago, given how camp has been going. Took Luther Burden. I thought that was a fun little cat and mouse game at the turn there. Whether Drake May or Caleb Williams came back to me, didn't really care that much, and ended up getting Burden with Caleb. Pitts. Pitts comes back to me in the 12th round and double tap Pitts plus Penix, and then we discussed the whole week 5 overlapping bye issue. Obviously, having Jackson Smith and Jigba, adding Sam Darnold to that team. My guy Bernie took Anthony Richardson from me, made that decision a lot easier, but could have taken Richardson, Darnold, or Russell Wilson. I do think Darnold was ultimately the best option as that's percolated a little bit upstairs. And then Will Shipley, and now we'll play some hits. I have 4 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and I'm done at quarterback and tight end. Travion Henderson, James Cook, Tyrone Tracy is totally solid to start the season. I'm probably even more bullish than the market is on Travion Henderson, especially out of the gate. And maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I'm totally cool with this running back room in total points coming out in week 1, first month, 6 weeks of the season. I'm gonna guess that Bernie's gonna take one of my guys here, because there is a slam dunk fit on this team that, like I said, I'm going to guess Bernie takes right here. But we will find out. Leggett, thank you. Okay, so Torrey Horton what fucking pick did Torrey Horton go at? God damn it, guys. How did I miss him on the board? Oh, Jesus. Pick 162, 2 mules took him. Okay, Diami's fine. I should have known. I really should have known. But I try not to add him to the queue because people are watching and it will remind them to take that guy. But anyway, on we go. We'll go get Sean Tucker now. But Torrey Horton's such a good fit on his ADP's. What is his ADP up to now? 189. God damn it, guys. Hope you've been getting your Torrey Horton bags filled, because Jesus Christ, man, what a mess. So annoying. Are you ripping another? No, this will be it. Draft number 3 today will do it for me. Got to get to the gym after this. Got to make 10 million slow draft picks, walk the dogs, all that fun stuff. I did start writing a new piece, a small teaser for anybody that's still sticking with us and watching. I'm coming out with a new sort of series that's going to be the mold for really all of our content as we expand into like DFS and stuff like that. Calling it the blueprint, where I'm going to go through kind of all the most relevant points about this season for best ball, and then I'll do the same thing, right? When we get in season for like DFS and all that kind of stuff. Here's the blueprint for week 1 DFS. Here's the blueprint for this year of NFL best ball. It's going to be about a 10 parter. I'm going to try to crank those 10 pieces out over the next week. And the first one we're talking about is like a breakdown of the overall market. That'll be for premium subscribers, kind of how I'm viewing, the prices on every position, on different teams, on certain pockets of the draft, where they're strong, where they're weak. What do we think about some of those pockets, and how does that impact, what do we do in the early rounds when we know that round 7 and 8 wide receiver range has been wiped out? Now, what do we do about the fact that there's really no tight ends that even go from round 5 to 10 or whatever? How do we think about some of that type of stuff? That'll be included in a new piece that I'm going to try to finish up today. Am I right in loving this roster, says 2 Mules? Well, the last couple picks I just saw were Isaac Guerendo and Blake Corum, so I don't love that. Saquon, Bowers, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Alvin Kamara, RJ Harvey, Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, Rashid Shaheed, taking on some risk at wide receiver. I love it. Brock Purdy unstacked. Don't love. Geno Bowers. Okay. Tucker Kraft looks good. Ford, Horton, Guerendo, likely Corum. I just don't love the Purdy unstacked pick there. Did he fall? I guess he maybe fell a couple of picks, but I would have tried to plan around some. I don't know what that'd be. Caleb. Was Caleb gone, I guess? No, I got Caleb. Yeah, what the hell? I just think I would have taken a Caleb or something. If DJ Moore is going to be the best pick, you don't have Kittle, you don't have Pearsall, you don't have Juwan. I think I would take a different quarterback than Brock Purdy as my quarterback 1. It's like the rest looks good though. Though I'm not sure Isaac Guerendo. 49ers backfield curse continues to live on with injuries. It's crazy. Paulino says, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, still getting Shipley in the 17th and 18th rounds. People are just bored. People get bored of these guys, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's see here. Is there anybody at wide receiver that we need to have? No, not really. Which means I don't know. I really should have planned ahead again. Damian Pierce is gone. Okay. We'll do Marshawn. We'll do Marshawn Lloyd. Don't love it, but he is back at practice. And I still kind of believe in the talent. There's a great nugget from one of the Packers beat writers the other day that he's making the oh my God, 29% of what? 29% of Caleb teams have Kendre. I only have 6% Kendre. That's insane. But I'm pretty sure he's the correct click on this team. And then we'll get another wide receiver in round 20, round out our receiver room. I feel pretty good about this team, though. But Marshawn Lloyd made all the Packers players do oohs and ahs with a juke move. He left some guy's jock on the field, I guess. And not that matters for us in best ball, but it was just a reminder for me that, oh yeah, that guy's got juice. He's got some juice that no one else in the Packers backfield has. It's safer to be a Spinal Tap drummer than to be a San Francisco running back. It's safer to be just about anything than a San Francisco running back. I mean, than a San Francisco 49ers, this is nuts, dude. Think back about, we talk about the Chargers being cursed, and they probably are. And of course, they just had Rashawn Slater get hurt too. So, they are probably cursed themselves. But think about this 49ers run of all these injuries. It's kind of crazy. So Trey Lance, right, which turned out good because they also found out Jimmy G was not still the answer when they draft Trey Lance 3rd overall. He gets hurt. How good would Trey Lance have been? It's unclear. He looks kind of good in preseason for the Chargers, so I wonder if maybe he would have developed over time. We'll see. Jimmy G constantly hurt as well himself. They make it to the conference championship game, and that's when Purdy, right, they basically lose all of their quarterbacks. That's when Dobbs got hurt, but Purdy got hurt, Dobbs got hurt as well, and Purdy had the bum shoulder, and he literally couldn't throw a pass. So we were watching the NFC Championship game, and the 49ers truly could not attempt a forward pass because they didn't have a quarterback to play. And then we've had, George Kittle's been hurt. Debo was constantly hurt. Brandon Ayuk tears his ACL after holding out to get a contract extension. Christian McCaffrey, Raheem Mostert got hurt those many years ago. Eli Mitchell steps up for Raheem Mostert, and then he is constantly hurt. Now we have Isaac Orendo and Jordan James. Amir Abdullah is out for probably his career now. CMC is healthy, but then now Jawan Jennings is I guess, air quotes, hurt. Jacob Cowing got hurt, right? This is Jacob Cowing's opportunity, and he's really been popping in camp, and then instant hamstring injury. Ayuk still not practicing. Just insane, man. Jordan Watkins for the 49ers also hurt now. It's nuts. Trent Williams, they deal with this Trent Williams injury like seemingly on a week-to-week basis. We can go on and on and on and just talk for 5 minutes listing all 49ers injuries. That's crazy. But for our purposes, the last men standing for the San Francisco 49ers, pretty good ass picks, I think. Pretty good picks. All right, I will be soon here taking my 20th round pick and closing out this team at wide receiver. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and Sam Darnold all stacked beautifully, I might add. At the quarterback position, Travion Henderson, James Cook, Tyrone Tracy, Will Shipley, Sean Tucker, Marshawn Lloyd, and Kendre Miller. CeeDee Lamb, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Matthew Golden, Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, De'Ami Brown, George Kittle, and Kyle Pitts. I quite like this team. I won't lie to you guys. I quite like it. I think Booty is a good fit here. Did Malik go, I assume? Yeah, many 212 Malik went. The Malik steam is annoying. I have a bunch of, let's do Booty. I have a bunch of Jordan Whittington already on similar teams like this. We'll take Kayshon Booty and call it a day. That's going to wrap here at Spike Week. Tomorrow, today is leading up to the show. Tomorrow is your last chance to get entered to win free tickets on tomorrow's show to the Drafters main event, the $20 tournament. Drop a comment, of course, on your way out. If you would hit the like button, it would be much appreciated. And on tomorrow's show, we'll be recapping the week that was in training camp. We'll definitely be talking about this Rashee Rice stuff, and we'll be talking about all the other noteworthy fantasy relevant news from across the NFL in training camps heading into preseason week 2. It's a hot best ball summer. Hopefully this helped with some eliminator strategy in your final eliminator drafts and drafters and marathon playoff be damned tournaments out there in the best ball landscape. I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Have a wonderful Thursday and enjoy drafting the rest of the day today. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.